And we're live. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Raymond.
Michael,
Yes, Raymond.
did you hear that the New England Patriots Super Bowl winning cornerback and the only New England player to win Defensive Player of the Year, Stephan Gilmore, has retired from the NFL?
I had heard such information.
I didn't even know he was still in the NFL because he didn't play at all last season, but I guess he just made it official now.
Yeah,
Well, Mike, let me ask you a couple questions about that. Is that okay?
let's do it.
Mike, where does Gilmore rank amongst all-time New England Patriots? Because I think it's a bit of a loaded question because he ranks, but where does he rank amongst all-time?
It's tough. That's tough for me. He's definitely in the top, 30. Especially compared to some of the first dynasty guys. Like when you say cornerback for New England Patriots, I just think of Ty Law, right?
Yes.
So if I'm gonna be fair, I'm gonna rank him among Ty Law, obviously himself and Revis. It's gonna go in that order. Revis was only here for a year. I know he was really good that year that he was here, but
Could you not argue that Stephan Gilmore was a little more polarizing as a cornerback than, say, Darrelle Revis or Brandon Browner?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you're gonna bring this up, but his first couple of games here were not good.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that. But yeah, I just find it so here's another loaded question for you. So after renouncing his retirement, he went on a podcast and they were asking him about Hall of Fame rankings and that type of thing. And Gilmore came out and he recently said that he wants to be inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Looking through the base of his career, so his time in Buffalo, then he comes to New England, then he went to, I know he's in Indianapolis for a bit, and he kind of scattered about after that.
Yep.
Is Stephan Gilmore, is he going to be wearing a red jacket? When is he going to be wearing a red jacket? Because I believe there's a lot of Patriots not wearing a red jacket that need to be brought in first.
Yeah.
And then is he going to be wearing a gold jacket one day? Because if he's wearing a gold jacket, how do you not give him a red jacket?
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots Hall of Fame is going to be tough, right? And we were kind of talking about this not too long ago because they put Brady in and kind of skipped the process for him. Now you've kind of generated this backlog of guys. I think eventually he'll get a red jacket. It'll probably be 5 or 6 years, honestly. And as far as Hall of Fame goes, that's tough for me because my first instinct is yes. Yes, but I honestly don't really know that much about Gilmore before he was with the Patriots. So his time in Buffalo, how good was he? Obviously I know that 3-year sample size when he was here, when they were competing, he was, he was off the charts for a little bit, but again, small sample size for a guy who, he did win Defensive Player of the Year. He had some of the best cornerback highlights, in the league those couple of years, obviously, and the big ones in Jacksonville and in the Super Bowl, obviously, those big breakups.
So let me throw a few names at you, and I want you to tell me Gilmore or that player. Who goes in first? Okay, this one should be easy. Gronk or Gilmore?
Gronk.
Hightower or Gilmore?
Hightower.
Does Jamie Collins have to be considered for a red jacket?
He can be considered, but actually that's not one where I would put him in before Gilmore. He was a nice player. He was kind of like a fan favorite, but I don't think he had the impact that Gilmore did.
But don't you think fan favorite has something to do with it as well? Don't you think it has to do with...
yeah.
Let me give you a name who I think statistically should not be a Hall of Famer anywhere. Rob Ninkovich.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And yeah.
Numbers don't call him a Hall of Famer, but very, very popular in New England.
Yeah.
So Rob Ninkovich or Stephan Gilmore?
I would put Gilmore. There are people who might put Ninkovich over Gilmore.
Matthew Slater or Stephan Gilmore?
Oh, that's tough. Matthew Slater. It's got to be Matthew Slater.
Devin McCourty or Stephan Gilmore?
Again, for like a fan favorite kind of thing, McCourty.
I just think body work in New England as well.
Yeah,
Captain, bunch of all pros.
Yeah, here forever. One of the few guys Belichick like loved, respected, paid.
All right, let me throw another name at you.
Okay.
Nate Solder or Stephan Gilmore?
Oh, Nate. Sorry, Gilmore, not Nate Solder.
Dude, protect Tom Brady's blind side for years.
Yeah, no, that's Gilmore. I think Solder was a little overrated.
Okay, he's in it, but if he wasn't, Matt Light or Gilmore. Say they were both going up.
Oh, Matt Light. But that's the other side of the fan coin for me, because you could make the same argument, but didn't Matt Light have an all-pro in there somewhere?
He did.
Yeah.
But I think with Stephan Gilmore, you're talking about the only New England Patriot in history, and he won it as a Patriot, obviously, to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Samuel or Stephan Gilmore?
Samuel who? What?
Oh, come on, my boy.
Why am I
Cost the Patriots the perfect season.
Oh. that's why I was my trauma blanking. Absolutely Asante Samuel over Stephan Gilmore, just because it would bother Ray so much.
Okay, gold jacket.
Okay.
Stephan Gilmore, is he a gold jacket? Because I do agree with you. I think because of the limited players that go into a team Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And because another name. Oh no, Edelman's in already. Sorry. Yeah. Edelman's already in. But yeah, I think that when you think of I'm looking at the 35 members of the Patriots Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Right? And New England Patriots in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There's 11 Patriots in the Hall of Fame, 35 in this Hall of Fame. I could say like Bruce Armstrong and that, but I didn't know who the hell those guys were. Right? Yeah, like when I look at the names, I know Drew Bledsoe, obvious, Tom Brady, Troy Brown, Teddy Bruschi. Yeah. Gino again. Then you get the Gino Cappellettis, that kind of thing, right? Ben Coates, right?
Yeah, Ben Coates is a good one.
Kevin Falk is in there. Steve Grogan, obviously. John Hanna, Rodney Harrison, Mike Haynes, who could have been the best defensive player ever for the Patriots. Yeah. Ty Law, Matt Light, Willie McGinnis, Jim Nance is in there. Steve Nelson, Babe Pirelli, Dante Scarnecchia, Richard Seymour, Andre Tippett, Mike Vrabel, Vince Wilfork. Out of all those guys listed, first of all, Randy Moss is not in the Patriots Hall of Fame.
Wes Welker
could be there. I mean, Junior Seau, doesn't he have to have consideration to be in the Patriots Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Curtis Martin. Do you not have to? I know he was here a short time, but you not have to look at Curtis Martin?
Yep.
I mean, obviously, Randy Moss at some point has to get into the Patriots Hall, right?
Yeah,
like he's got the gold jacket.
I think down the road they will, it'll be a good opportunity to kind of get the band back together probably one last time when Randy's in his 60s.
Look, terrible ending to that season, but brought us one of the most historical, fun seasons to ever watch. Broke records with Brady, went 16-0 on the season. Okay. And then Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
So there's a big line of guys who have to get in before Stephan Gilmore. And at some point, do you not have to put Robert Kraft in it?
Yeah, I just wonder if they're going to wait till I don't mean to sound morbid, but are they going to do it when he passes? You know what I mean? Yeah.
But he's got to go in there too, which is then going to bump people out.
The contributors they put in with like the players. So every couple of years they do it like how they did Parcells and
Vrabel, I think.
Edelman last year.
Was it Edelman?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go back now. Do you think Stephan Gilmore has a better chance of being a gold jacket Hall of Famer or a red jacket Hall of Famer?
Oh, this is tough.
Is Stephan Gilmore destined for Canton?
No. I'm going to say everybody's doing the like immediate he retired like fanfare bias right now. Like, you saw all the feedback like gold jacket, Hall of Famer. I don't know, man. I guess if I like, to be fair, I'm gonna go back and maybe look at some of that Buffalo tape. But he was in New England. He had two really good years. Other than that, the 2 years make a Hall of Famer. That's the argument here, and I'm not sure that's the case.
I agree, and I don't think if he doesn't win that Defensive Player of the Year, that there's not even a conversation about it. But Stephan Gilmore, though, taught me one of my most valuable lessons. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, maybe the former rendition of the Dear Pats Nation X account no longer exists because we were asked to leave. But there was a tweet out there that I had put out when it was still the Twitterverse that was saved, screenshotted, bookmarked for people waiting to throw it back at me. Some people sending it back to me 24 months after I sent the tweet. But it was week 4. I remember the day. The New England Patriots were playing the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
Cam Newton was trying to drive the field. The Patriots had a slight lead.
Mm-hmm.
4th down, the Patriots make the stop. They're getting the ball back. Game over. They beat the Panthers. Flag on the play. Illegal hands to the face, number 24 of the defense. And I believe that was his 2nd or 3rd hands to the face penalty. He played terrible his first couple of games, took a bad penalty in his 3rd game, which had a major impact on the team. And I proceeded to tweet that what a waste of money. It's time to cut Stephan Gilmore. Of course, you fast forward 2 years later, the Patriots have what I can only describe as one of the greatest defensive performances in a Super Bowl against a really good LA Rams team.
Yep.
There's arguments of, what they did to the greatest show on turf and then other Super Bowl, what the Baltimore did to the Giants, but one of the greatest. It's got to be up there in a top 5 defensive performance in the Super Bowl. Stephan Gilmore obviously could have been in contention for MVP in that game. The game-sealing interception, I believe that's the year he won Defensive Player of the Year. Is that year or the year after? One of those 2 years, but it's all around that time. And as soon as the Patriots won the Super Bowl, that tweet came flooding back into my timeline by a lot of people who held on to it for a long time. And I had to eat that one.
Yeah.
And I think that was a lesson for me that maybe have some faith and let it go through the process a little bit more.
Listen, you and I've told you this story, but I had the exact same reaction, and you and I had no inkling of knowing each other at that point. And I had the exact same reaction. I was like, what the hell did they pay this guy for? Because he basically cost us 2 games that season because of that. And I think
it was week 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he took that penalty week 3 right at the end of the game, and then week 4, obviously. And then I didn't finish my story. Cam Newton ended up driving the field. They kicked a field goal, won the game.
Yeah. So I was in the exact same mindset. I was like, why did we pay for this guy? He's a walking penalty machine. Like, what is this? And then Belichick, being Belichick, just goes, you know what? We're going to play man. And once they, went to playing full press man all the time, he was just lights out.
He was a very good man receiver or cornerback. Like, that's where he shined the best. Very much like Gonzalez. I find, and I've said this to you, Gonzalez, I find, struggles in zone. I think he has to be man-to-man, and he has to go. So other news that came out this week, Mike, the New England Patriots will be featured in the 2027 edition of Hard Knocks, a program that the New England Patriots avoided at all costs during the Bill Belichick era. I'm just going to ask you straight up, do you like New England being featured on Hard Knocks?
As of right now, I really don't mind it, and I'll tell you why. Because they kind of do the same thing right now on their website. It's the Forged in Foxborough thing. It's so sanitized compared to the Hard Knocks that we used to get, right? Of like back in the day when they used to show them cutting people and, kind of the ins and outs of the football team, because ultimately, like, the New England Patriots get to review the footage and have the final say. So I don't think it's anything different than what they've been doing.
Well, and that's what I wanted to ask you. Is there a difference between Hard Knocks and what the Patriots are doing on their social media outlets? Because after Mike Vrabel we were in discussion of restarting the Dear Pats Nation podcast. And you said first thing we should do is look at these videos that are coming out on the Patriots YouTube channel. And they were full-fledged, basically documentaries following Mike Vrabel's early days in New England. And of course, as the season went on, we got into the playoffs, those clips started being played on national television. I was going to say, is there a difference between what we're seeing on the social media's page or the Patriots social media pages right now compared to what we're going to see on Hard Knocks? And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't get Hard Knocks here. We don't, and so I've never seen the full Hard Knocks. We might now, but at least when it was in its prime of popularity, we didn't get Hard Knocks. I saw the big clips of Buddy getting traded from Miami, and I think it was Ocho Cinco being cut because he got arrested or whatever it was. I saw the clips of that. I saw the Will Fork, I saw that, but I've never seen it in its entirety because we didn't get it here. And I think that to me, you're right. I see a watered down version of it from the clips that I see. And so I put that on the table when I say it.
Yeah, and I will say this. There's some smoke around the NFL wanting the teams to show some of that juice, for lack of better words. So maybe it'll get a little bit spicier again between, a year from now and this point. So we'll see. I honestly don't mind it because I think Vrabel is great for the camera because I think he plays up to it. He's not Belichick. He's not just going to shut everything down. He's going to go show what makes me look good, show what makes my team look good. And, he'll use it as a selling point instead of this, detraction, curmudgeon-y nonsense that Belichick was probably always afraid of.
In your opinion, what is the worst possible outcome that could happen with New England being on Hard Knocks?
I mean, there's always, something gets shown or divulged that gets the NFL's attention, for something negative in the long term, but I don't know that would even make it off the cutting room floor. So I can't really think of anything like totally super negative unless something came up with a player and the authorities, during this, and they're like, you guys have to show a little piece of this. In that way, it would linger all season, basically.
Do you think that we will see possible controversies addressed, or do they try to sanitize it and bury it? An example I could give is, I don't want to get into the political side of things because I haven't commented on it. I won't comment on it. But our boy Trey got himself into a little bit of trouble with his social media account, or started some controversy, however you look at it. And I don't know the full story, Mike, I'm going to be honest with you, but from what I gathered from pieces, he supported a player who made some anti-LGBTQ plus comments, and he put a Bible verse or something, and people have blown up about it because Vrabel was asked about. I found out about it because Vrabel was asked about it at the coaches' meetings and basically said, we're an inclusive locker room. We're going to address this internally. Done. But you can address it internally, but how do you address a sensationalized story like that when you got cameras everywhere 24/7? When it's your own social media channels, you can pick and choose what's going to go in there. But for something like Hard Knocks that is supposed to be for ratings, do you think we'll see something like that addressed? And can it do better or worse for the player that's being addressed?
I mean, I think in this sense, it probably could actually be better because you could see the way Mike Vrabel chooses to address it with the individual or the team. And I think that's what a lot of people worry about with something like this. And I will point out for the record, Travion Henderson came out 24 hours later and released a statement under the Patriots banner. So it wasn't just him, he released it under the Patriots account and was like, I apologize, so on and so forth. I'm not going to misquote him, but essentially that's what it was. And to Mike Vrabel's credit, I know we don't want to dwell too much on this, but I'll shift gears right back. He's basically taking the role of teacher and mentor to the, young men to a good level here. And I think that's, what he views his role as, not just coach. But ultimately, I think the worst thing we could see is maybe some honestly, I don't even think it would be between players. You might get to see some heat between maybe Vrabel and, Kraft, or maybe McDaniels and Vrabel. I think that to me would be the most, knowing the way the Boston media reacts, they would treat that like Christmas came early. Like if there was contention between McDaniels and Vrabel, because the whole narrative about how McDaniels wasn't Vrabel's choice, and what that could lead to with fallout with Kraft, and in the long term, to me, that's the biggest story you would get out of this, is if they decided to show a picture of, again, a contentious event between the coaching staff, not necessarily even the players.
So I want to transition this, because I think it's the perfect transition. And this was not on the docket for today. I went back and forth whether I wanted to address this or not, and talk about this. Thought maybe it's too polarizing because of who's involved. Sure. But I think it's a good discussion. So I want to put something up front right now. Okay. I am giving no opinion on the decision that was made in the legislation that came down from President Trump regarding the NCAA. I'm not here to say whether I think Donald Trump is a good president or a bad president. I'm Canadian. I have no opinion on that. And though you're American, we'll just keep all opinions to ourselves. Yeah. But I want to look at the world of politics and sports and maybe have a discussion of where that line should be drawn, where it's blurry, or whether it's just something that's now fully engrossed into it. And as sports fans, and more importantly for guys like you and I, commentators, maybe something we have to navigate as we move forward. So I want to recycle all the way back, and I want to go back to the George Floyd incident back in 2020, and we're in COVID time, and there's just weird things happening, and we've got protests on the street, and I think everybody on the left and the right we've all come to the conclusion that nobody should be killed, and there's different ways that we can deal with things and whatnot. But it was very contentious at the time. Mm-hmm. And I'll use a Patriots example. Bill Belichick canceled practice and held an open forum conversation led by black players on his team, black leaders, Devin McCourty, Matthew Slater. I think Hightower was a part of that. It was all the leaders of that team. And they had an open conversation with players sharing experiences and people learning. And we heard the players talk about the impact it had on them and whatnot. And it was, of course, met with mixed reviews. You had people who were like, shut up and play football. And you had others that were like, thank you to Bill Belichick. But it was so polarizing that Belichick's like, we have to talk about this. And of course, the NFL put out that commercial that starred Patrick Mahomes and some of the top black athletes. There was a letter sent to the owners about the equality rules. I think even they had Tom Brady's signature on that. Mm-hmm. And then, but prior to that, we had Colin Kaepernick and other people taking a knee, and people like in the basketball world, LeBron James weighing in on things that happen. And we heard a lot of support for those guys. And then we heard a lot of shut up and dribble the basketball conversations. And now we're at a point now, though, where the same people that were like, keep politics and sports apart, are now supporting a political decision by Donald Trump. The legislation came down from him in the NCAA that players are now restricted to 5 years of play. And I'm not entirely sure that works with red shirting and that kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to figure out. But they can only transfer one time. I believe this was big colleges and big programs who lobbied the president to get this done. But to me, the NCAA is a private entity, a private league, a private organization. And we've now just had literal legislation go into place that's now controlling how player movements and things can happen. So my question is, Mike, let's start with this one at the top. Are we now in a world where politics and sports are driving in the same lane and we have to navigate that? Because sports used to be my escape from politics. And it seems now that it's all mixed into one. I mean, I said something about the Patriots this year and I got called a liberal love. You saw the comment. You know what I mean? We had the least political conversation you could possibly have, and we had somebody just tear me apart and I think I just mentioned the president, like it had nothing to do with anything. We weren't even talking politics. So are we now, I mean, I'm going to get in trouble for this, and I don't think we've laid an opinion out anywhere. You know what I mean? We've literally just stated the fact. But do we now live in a world where sports and politics are just going to be hand in hand?
I don't know if always and forever, but we seem to live in a world, and again, we're going to get in trouble for saying this. I'll get in trouble for saying this, where unfortunately, I think politics and everything drive in the same lane together, right? Unfortunately, you can't have a cheeseburger or eat a piece of broccoli without it, getting political, unfortunately, because I'm the same way as you, right? Like, I don't define myself by my politics. And that just simply that we both came to what we're doing here today to escape the world of politics because man, we thought things were divided during COVID and we, wanted to help bring people together or keep some like level of, you know, continuity and hope amongst people. And that's literally why Dear Pats Nation, or one of the reasons it exists today. And we're trying to rekindle some of that. And you just can't escape it.
Yeah, one of the points of pride in my life that I will hold forever was during the early stages of the pandemic, and we were all shut down, and that was at a time that like people weren't even protesting yet. Like we were all just so confused, and there was nervousness, and nobody knew what was happening.
Yeah,
and it's if it's somebody coughed down the street, you were running to the hospital, and Connor was my podcast partner at the time, as you know, and him and I had a conversation off air and said, we're not going to discuss the pandemic. The only mention we're going to have is when we have a guest on, we're going to say, hey, how are you? Are you safe? Is everything good? And that was it. And then we would just, we didn't focus on anything. And then it got very politicized. It got very politicized. And we used to get messages from first responders, doctors, nurses, firemen, firefighters, police, thanking us for just keeping this, it was just entertainment. We were that for that 1 hour. It was just two guys having a, whatever, a little bit of fun, being stupid, and keeping things clean. And then Cam Newton broke protocols and wasn't vaccinated for COVID. And I think that was our first political gotcha moment for the people who I think were waiting for us to screw up.
Yep.
Which, by the way, the funniest part of it all, and I think he'll be finding me telling everybody that now, like Connor was never vaccinated. It used to be a little conversation him and I would have in the background because I was and he wasn't. We both didn't have strong opinions either which way. We just both made decisions for ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, So it's not like either of us were a pro or an anti anything, right? All we did was report that Cam Newton was not vaccinated, that he went to a doctor or something and then was banned from practice because of NFL protocols. And that started both publicly and in our Patreon. It started a massive fight, and that was the first time that Connor and I were getting like really criticized. Like we took a lot of criticism for just discussing the possibility of a vaccination. Not even like he should do it, you should do it, we need to do it. It was literally just he can't go to practice because he's not vaccinated. It's an NFL protocol. Like we had no opinion around it. The whole conversation was actually about how this is Mac Jones' opportunity to take all the snaps, which he did, which ultimately led to Cam Newton losing his job. And then we talked about the Brian Flores story, and we had Jay Spence, the King, on, and I felt compelled at that time to speak up for the first time. And that was 1,000% the most I got a lot of love. Don't get me wrong. I probably got equal amount of love, but that was the first time that I had to go off social media for a couple of days because I was just getting blasted.
Yeah.
And then the third time we got hammered was we made a statement at the beginning of a show when Russia went into Ukraine and basically said, we hope that everybody's okay. And that, this is really our first war on European grounds. And, we're hoping for a peaceful resolution. And we got slammed for that because there was two sides. And then we also got praise. There was two sides of the argument.
Yeah.
So I think you walk a fine line, which is why I debated even bringing up the fact that there's these new NCAA policies in place because of actual legislation that came from the government, which will now shift my conversation, Mike. And I don't want you to talk directly about the NCAA protocol because I don't want to set you up for this. I just want to talk to you about in general. We can even go back to the steroid investigation against Major League Baseball when Congress was involved. Should Congress be involved in sport? Or should they leave it for the governing bodies?
I think it depends. And I think it's funny, just like anything, I think when you leave sports as its own governing body alone, I think they can make mistakes, but also, basically I'll use Congress or the president as a hammer as an example. It's that same hammer versus scalpel argument versus everything. So it depends on your view of, is the NCAA the hammer or are they the scalpel, or is Congress or the president trying to be such? And I'm trying to talk around this. And
yeah, you don't have to talk to the exact situation. We're just talking in general.
Yeah, and I will say this about the subject in general. I'm glad we brought it up, at least in these terms, because Boston media, and I consume a lot of it for this program for our purposes, people who are usually very opinionated, didn't touch much of this subject, which actually kind of bothered me because I was actually looking for my camera just forget it.
It looks like you have like a smudge on it. They're not a focus.
Yeah, it's an out of focus thing because when I shifted at one point, that's when it started doing it. But whatever. A media market that honestly isn't really afraid to bring up politics, like didn't touch this at all, and I think it's because it was so attached to President Trump, for that matter. But yeah, I think it's the same story as old as time, right? It depends on your perspective on the issue, right? And that doesn't matter if it's political, if it's something in your community, if it's something. Generally, people just look at things on one side of a coin. It's very hard to see somebody else's perspective, is how I'll put this.
I struggle with government being involved in sport for many reasons. Because take the NCAA issue. Mm-hmm. Was this the president looking at a situation? And I don't pretend to be an expert on the NCAA. That's why I'm speaking in hypotheticals, because I can only speak in hypotheticals. But I sit there and say, was this the president recognizing this is a big problem? I don't know how much of a college football fan, Donald Trump is. But was this something, or something one of his advisors said this needs to be looked at? Or was this a lobby group representing the SEC and the Big Ten bringing this to the White House and saying, hey, when you're in power, we need to look at this? Because we know that happens with everything. There's obviously more polarizing sports issues, tons of more polarizing issues that we could look at and examine, but I don't want to. I think that the struggle I have, Mike, I'll be honest with you, is there have been political decisions around sports, one as of very recently, that I'm in favor for, right? And I'm sure people can put it together, but I'm in favor for.
Yeah.
And then there are decisions in sport that are made that I'm like, why is the government involved in this? Like, this seems like an NHL matter, not a government matter. It's like when there's a fight in hockey and there's conversations of the police being called.
Yeah.
No, let them finish it on the ice, and then it's over and it's done, and let them go to their respective dressing rooms.
Can I tell you, and I guess I'll speak directly to this instead of around it, because it's a pretty public matter, and I don't think it's controversial in the sense of politics. I think it has a lot to do with the Trinidad Chambliss case, which basically he just won a case that says he can go back to college and play, for his upteenth year. I think he's been in college for like six years now. So I think that this directly addresses that more than anything. I think this is basically saying like, okay, this wave of COVID and staying in college I'll just say forever, okay, needs to end. I'm not.
So I guess my question is, though, wouldn't that be up to the NCAA just to put in their own rule?
I think it's hard because I think it's come down to the individual lobbying their individual college outside of the NCAA. So I think it's become a little bit out of hands, and I think that's why. And I know what you're saying. Like, is there money involved? Like, of course there's money involved.
I'm not saying this is right
Yeah.
or wrong. I want to put that out there.
No,
I'm not arguing the decision. I'm just talking about government involvement in sports in general.
Yeah, and I'm strictly speaking to the motivations. To your point, I'm not saying is it right or wrong. That you can decide for yourself and blow us up in the comments and say we're taking sides. We would enjoy the engagement.
Yes.
So
what's this Canadian doing talking about my president? I get that a lot. Yeah. I get that a lot. When I'm not talking about your president. Do you know Canadian my favorite
Ray?
You know what my favorite thing to do. You know what my favorite thing to do at election time is, right? Like after you vote your president, after every presidential, like American presidential election, I will write like Donald Trump is not my president or Joe Biden is not my president. And because of my following, I get a lot of people mad at me, and I'm just like, yo, I'm Canadian. Like it's 100% not my president.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah, people are too stupid. I literally have a Canadian flag beside my name. And people just don't get it.
Hey, we incorporated it into the logo too.
We did. We hope everybody likes the new logo. I was excited about it. Yeah, check it out here on YouTube or our Twitter account. Can I take a second to plug a project that I started on my own?
Sure.
I've expanded the DPN brand, and I started a new channel called Dear Jays Nation. Because I was looking for an outlet to talk about the Blue Jays. I've realized Dear Pats Nation is not the outlet to talk about the Blue Jays. So I started Dear Jays Nation, and I do shorts and reels across social media. So you can follow it at Dear Jays Nation. And I think YouTube it's dear.jays.nation, or it's on one of them. I got to change it. But Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, at Dear Jays Nation. Give it a follow. Give it a look. Already got blown up in the comments on my very first video. So on TikTok. So it's good. It's good. Jays are not doing well right now. So I'm just going on Mike.
Right. The Red Sox are fantastic. Right.
The Red Sox. Thank God for the Red Sox. That's what I say. Thank God for the Red Sox. All right. Let's bring it back to the New England Patriots if we can.
Yeah. Yep.
So at the owners' meeting, Robert Kraft told the media that he would like to see Drake Maye and Christian Gonzalez signed to long-term extensions with New England Patriots. Yes. Mike, obviously re-signing Drake Maye is a no-brainer. But at this point of the negotiation cycle, should Robert Kraft really be talking about Christian Gonzalez, or should it kind of be kept like old school, quiet and tight-lipped, like it used to be as New England? Like, just let this process play out and not be making public comments about it. Drake May's easy. Christian Gonzalez, we know, is a bit of a trickier situation. Should Robert Kraft be saying things like, I want them both? I think associating Christian Gonzalez with Drake Maye, does that now open up new expectations?
I don't think so. And kind of for the reason I laid out in our video about 2 weeks ago, right? I think the Christian Gonzalez deal just gets done. It's a matter of if and when. And honestly, I think Christian Gonzalez holds a lot of the power right now because he's waiting for to, basically see when other people get signed, I think, to max out his money. And I'll be frank with you, and this is addressing Robert Kraft at these owners' meetings. We know this. I'm just going to lay this out. Every year, Robert Kraft says something at these meetings. You just need to, it's a matter of when, not if, okay? Robert Kraft likes to make statements. He likes to be in front of the camera. This is basically one of the 2 times of the year he gets to do it. I think a couple of years ago, it was something about Lamar Jackson. He always kind of gets the Patriots in hot water as far as expectations are concerned. That same thing happened this year. I don't know if that's a question you have later on, so I won't.
Well, let me add to it. My next question actually ties into what you're saying.
Okay.
Because we know that Robert Kraft likes to send messages to his staff and his coaches through the media. We saw him do that with Bill Belichick, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Was this a message to Elliott Wolf that Christian Gonzalez better be a New England Patriot long time? Was this a little bit of a message to his team saying, like, I expect him and Drake Maye to be, I guess, the Tom Brady and Devin McCourty of this team?
I don't think so in the Belichickian sense. Like if he said this under Belichick, it would be like earth-shattering news, right? Like Robert Kraft gets involved with contracts. You know, I think Mike Vrabel holds a lot more of the cards right now than Belichick did, maybe even at his height, and I'll tell you why. Because I think Mike Vrabel has the power right now in a nice way. I'm not going to say he's going to ruffle feathers the same way Belichick did. Again, based on what I was going to bring up a second ago, right? Robert Kraft says, "Oh, I don't know, expectations this year, the schedule's harder. You know, there's a lot of travel miles." And what happened? 20 minutes later, you see a clip of Mike Vrabel going, "Listen, I had to talk to Robert about that. As long as I'm here, championships are always the expectation." When you never would have heard something like that come out of Bill Belichick's mouth, it would have been all behind the scenes. And I think that to me is a big indication of, Robert, this is the standard. We're gonna pay our good players from now on. We're not gonna dink around with this. Don't worry, we'll handle the money. And if we need more than is budgeted, I'll come and see you and we'll talk about it. I think this is a huge indication to me that Mike Vrabel and his team have a ton of power right now.
And I hope you're right, because Robert Kraft used to let his football people worry about football, and Robert Kraft worried about being a fan and making money and building stadiums and selling merchandise. And it's Robert Kraft's job to sell the product. It's Mike Vrabel's job and Elliott Wolf's job to win championships. That's just the way it is. However, I have found since Tom Brady has left, Robert Kraft has gotten very vocal in the media. Obviously, we've seen some of what he's done with Bill Belichick while he was here and after he left, and the shots he has taken. But then he also makes comments like this, like, I expect Drake Maye and Christian Gonzalez to be long-term. He never used to be that guy. Like, this is something, and I'd say in the last 8 years, 6 years is probably fair to say. Truthfully, time means nothing to me anymore. Things that I thought happened a year ago happened 10 years ago. So
seriously, yeah.
Like, I think it's been like almost like 8 years since the Patriots won their last Super Bowl. Like, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it's been a while. Yeah. But I don't know. For me, I just wish he would go back to shutting up. I wish he would just go back to, like, I love Mike Vrabel. And there's a big part of me, Mike, though I appreciate everything that Bill Belichick did for the New England Patriots. Mm-hmm. I am so happy that we're into this era of, like, let's have fun. Let's love each other. Let's not BS the media. Let's just be straight up. If they can't answer a question because it's giving away the game plan, Mike Vrabel will just tell them, like, well, I'm not going to give you the game plan.
Right.
You know, the angry old Bill Belichick, though, could be hilarious at times, was getting even a little stale with me. And I think it got stale when they started sucking. It's like, you can be that angry, miserable SOB and win championships and nobody cares. But when you're being that same guy and the team's winning 8 games, it's no longer a fun experience. But with that being said, you know me, owners own, coaches coach, GMs GM, and so on. And I really do wish that Kraft would just shutty uppy sometimes and just let the football people talk.
Well, I think, and you're hitting the nail on the head. And again, as a consumer of Boston sports media, they still do this, right? Because it generates clicks, it generates views, it drums up controversy. They go, Kraft doesn't like to pay his players. They're setting the stage for this big Kraft versus Vrabel versus Drake Maye versus Christian Gonzalez thing for the next couple of years because it's great for their product. And I can't, argue with that. But all I can say to that is I think we're kind of the Patriots are becoming this normalized NFL team where the GM's GM, the owner kind of says it a little bit once or twice a year, and the coach and the GM and his team kind of go, we'll handle this. We'll pay our good players. We're going to pay our quarterback because we're not going to go back into that carousel. But it's like people here, like freaking whack-a-mole, are waiting for Bill Belichick's face to just like pop back up and go like, nope, not going to pay him. Like, so
Speaking of paying him,
mindset.
Speaking of paying him, can we do a little bit of clickbait fodder?
Sure, let's do it.
And this was not a part of the show. This was sent to me very last minute by our very own Michael N. But Mike, there are some people in the New England Patriots media who believe that the Patriots could be fielding both A.J. Brown and Maxx Crosby coming into this season. As crazy as this sounds, Mike, is there a possibility of this happening, or do you think this is nothing but clickbait fodder by the Ben Valens of the world?
So when the Artemis space rocket finds the Transformers behind the dark side of the moon, that's when they will sign both of these players. I fully believe that. So when we find the space robots behind the moon, both of these people will be on the Patriots at the same time, and the Patriots will enjoy 10 Super Bowls in a row because of it. And it'll be good times in Patriots Nation with Maxx Crosby. Tom Brady might come back too, and maybe Rob Gronkowski will suit up, and Julian Edelman's knee will get some magic fairy dust, and he'll be good to go.
And speaking of it, shout out to Julian Edelman for trolling Patriot fans on April Fool's Day.
I love it.
Just let's get to work. To work. Didn't have me for a second, by the way. Didn't have me for a second.
Same.
As soon as I saw it, I'm like, it's April 1st, dude. Relax. The only thing that got Kate and I this year was it's a very Toronto thing. So for a lot of you won't get it. But in Toronto every year we have the CNE, the Royal Canadian Exhibition comes, like a big fair. They have concerts and stuff, right? But it's always at the end of the summer, goes into Labor Day weekend. Runs for 2 weeks. It's huge. And it's huge. I mean, it's not like a little in the parking lot. It's a thing, right? And they have real bands and stuff to go there. And they usually partner with the Argos or Toronto FC, and you get a free ticket and admission. It's a big thing. And a city up just north of Toronto said we're proud to announce that the CNE will be moving to the Markham Fairgrounds this year and leaving Toronto. And we got it. Where Kate read it to me and I was like, really? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, because the World Cup's going to be here in July. So I was like, maybe because of the World Cup. Because that same city stole the Indy. We used to have the Indy in Toronto and it got stolen by Markham. I was like, did they steal the Indy and the X? And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. And she's like, what? I'm like, was that posted today? She's like, yeah. I'm like, it's April 1st. And then she looked at the comments and they were like, just kidding. And I was like, damn it. Anywho. But we are in the space of clickbait, Mike. Sometimes we do media. You don't see it though, eh? You
used to be good for it. You used to be good for some clickbait. Just a
rage bait. I was more rage bait than clickbait.
Bait. Yeah, that's
I didn't put clickbait up, but I put rage bait. I put titles that I knew.
Actually, you were like the original rage bait artist. Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh yeah, we used to rage bait people. We were rage baiting before the word rage bait was even a popular term. I didn't know what the definition of what we did was.
All you kids now would call it gaslighting. By the way,
yeah, that was just Ray being Ray.
Yeah.
I had a way, especially with Connor, who just so dumbly agreed with me. Yeah. We had a way. We had I remember that one guy calling us sycophants and just people just upset. Okay, but you don't think come June 1st there's AJ Brown's gonna be a Patriot? It's really looking like come June 1st, AJ Brown's gonna be a Patriot.
I think AJ Brown, yes. I think Ben Volin is doing Ben Volin things. He is a master of the clickbait. He is a master of saying he has sources. I don't. And I know we just got done saying let Vrabel do and Elliott Wolf do the money thing. You'd be talking about the Patriots blowing through and if they signed Christian Gonzalez somehow coming up with another $100 million for next year. You can't do it. Like you just can't do it.
Yeah, I don't see Maxx Crosby ever. I don't even think he was ever in discussion to go to New England or even now. But still be it. Okay, I got one more thing to talk about before we get out of here, and then I've got a baseball game to watch.
Nice.
It's rematch. Dodgers are here. Nobody tell me what's happening. Actually, I'm taking the comments off now that I've said it, because we're going to start the game from fresh when I go downstairs. It started about an hour ago. But
hell yeah.
My final thing I want to talk about today is an NFL thing, because it looks like that we're heading into the 2026 NFL season with replacement referees. Something that we saw turn out terrible in the past.
Yep.
Mike, last week we talked about the NFL possibly oversaturating the market with the amount of game nights they'll have. And I totally understand they're the NFL. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, the NFL can't really do anything wrong in a lot of people's eyes. But aren't more nights, more primetime games with bad refereeing just a colossal mistake for an organization that brings in billions of dollars a year?
I mean, yes, but at the same time, then you generate the clickbait, the controversy, and the conversation the next morning. So it's interesting, right? It's interesting from the perspective of a media outlet. Is that a good or a bad thing? Because sometimes any PR is good PR in this case. I think overall, no, because the product will be worse, but then it allows the avenues that talk about the product to kind of have an influx of people, right? So
how long and how inferior could the product be before people stop watching, or would they at all?
I don't think anybody would stop watching, but I think after a while you'd hear the asterisks for the season type of conversation. I'll tell you where it would start to be bad is people would start to finally hold the owners accountable for some of this stuff. I think wrongly, like the teams get held accountable for it when it's like the teams are shields for the owners. And so I like, listen, that makes more sense in my head. I know people that are listening to me say this are like, of course the owners own the team, but they kind of can hide themselves behind their team's logos, if that makes sense. I think it would go on for a couple weeks, and then if there was some egregious stuff that people would be like, listen, like you guys need to pay your refs, you need to bring them in house, and then you get into the whole conversation that I'm sure we'll have next year about how do you bring referees into the NFL with gambling involved, and that there's just that whole mess. And can I just say, like, listen, I'm going to go off on a tangent. That's why they're not doing it. That's why they're not doing it. And it's not just to save money. It's because they're in bed now with billions of dollars from gambling. So to then bring the referees in house, you create this whole ecosystem of chaos of like, how can you have gambling and officiating under the same roof?
But people who are gambling getting screwed over by officials, is that not a bad look as well?
Oh, I'm not arguing that, I'm just saying, like, I think for them, and listen, to me, it actually makes more sense, because then if the referees are caught doing something, the NFL can hold them accountable. I think the reason that they're not doing it now is because they know that shit is going on behind the scenes, and they want to be as far away from it as possible, so that when something does get exposed, they're separated from it. Okay, and anybody who says like, oh, that doesn't happen, it happened just last year in basketball. Okay, there was a big thing last year with basketball. The FBI got involved. You can't tell me that the NFL might be subject to some of that.
So you're barking right up my tree. I think I've mentioned this from time to time, but I believe that all professional sports, in some way or manner, there is some predetermination to it. I really do. I believe fixes are in different places. Yeah. I don't think there's a script like they've talked about in the past. Right. Like the script is in, and they put out a subliminal message. These two teams are in the front, so they're going to be like. I don't buy into that, but I 100% believe that Patrick Mahomes gets favorable calls. I 100% believe the New England Patriots get favorable calls. I know people believe that we don't, and the referees are out to screw the Patriots. I think the Patriots get favorable calls all the time because they're a money machine. And the Patriots winning games and being in the playoffs is better for the NFL as a whole because Tom Brady and Bill Belichick built this allegiance of fans and followers all over the world, Mike. Like, not just here, all over the world. They're one of the wealthiest franchises in the world. And I think Dallas gets, a thing. Like, I think the NFL is actually completely and utterly furious that Dallas hasn't won a Super Bowl in like 30 years because it's just better for them to be in this, maybe not even win the Super Bowl, but be in the Super Bowl. But do you want to talk about selling merch? Do you know how much Dallas Cowboy Super Bowl championship t-shirts? Do you know how many of those t-shirts will be sold?
Oh, absolutely. When the Cowboys get back to a championship, and they will eventually, there is statistical, not evidence. That's not even the right word or proof. It's just matter of fact that when the Cowboys are mentioned, and this is why you can tune into any of these morning shows, these sports shows, and they will be talking about the Cowboys, and you'll go, why? Because their viewership goes up, right? Their clicks go up because that's how big the Dallas Cowboys fan base.
If you go back and watch the 1992 and 1993 World Series, which were won by the Toronto Blue Jays, I'm not saying there was a fix by any means of them trying to screw the Blue Jays, but any close call, like any 50-50, every 50-50 call went against Toronto. Why? Because the Toronto Blue Jays winning the World Series is not good for Major League Baseball. So strike zones shrunk, strike zones expanded. The Blue Jays had a triple play that they didn't call a triple play, where the replay clearly showed triple play. And it goes across all sports. A Canadian team hasn't won the Stanley Cup since 1993. And I'm not, because no matter what happens in Canada, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be like in dead last this year. And yet the stadium is full every game.
Right.
No matter what happens, the NHL market is locked in Canada. You don't have to worry about that. You know where it's not locked in? LA, Florida. Who are like the last few champions? LA, Florida, right? Tampa Bay. Like, there's a whole business to sports. And I don't watch hockey, so that's not me griping as a Canadian not winning a championship. Mike can attest to this. I don't even know what the hockey is.
It's true.
But look, there's a pipe dream here in Canada that Toronto will get an NFL team. And we've been having that pipe dream because we have one in all the other major sports. We have an NBA team, an NHL team, a Major League Baseball team. We have a Major League Soccer team. Yep. So in the other 4 major sports in North America, we have a team, but not the NFL. And why don't we have an NFL? Because the sponsorship agreements at the NFL level are different. Because it's 1 day a week, because it's national time games all the time. Because I think there's like 8 Papa John's pizzas in Canada. Like, I'm just talking Toronto, like in Canada. Budweiser Canada is different than the Budweiser US.
Yeah.
So Budweiser is going to turn around and be like, hey, for 16 games a year on CBS and 3 of them primetime games and possible playoff games, our ads are being shown in a country that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the NFL's going, well, they're like, well, if that's the case, we're not paying that much. And it all comes down to money. And that's why Toronto will never have an NFL team. Because
I think that could change. I do.
It's sponsorship, though. It's all sponsorship.
Yeah, but the NFL's eventually, they're trying to get a team in London. So how can you
if they go worldwide to London, then I can see Canada getting a team. Absolutely. 100%. And they would be in. But you know what the problem with coming into Toronto now is? From a football perspective, we have nothing else. Okay, we have the Argos. But like you guys have college football.
Yeah.
So like if you're from Arkansas, you cheer for Arkansas. And if Arkansas got an NFL team, it doesn't matter who you cheered for before. You're from Arkansas and you're going to cheer for Arkansas, right? Do you think my household's going to start cheering for Toronto?
It better.
Do you
not.
think? No, but I'm saying, do you think I'm suddenly not going to be a New England Patriot fan? Like,
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old. I've been a New England Patriots fan since I was 9. Like, do you think after 30 whatever years, 31 years, right? Good math.
Yeah.
If do you think after 31 years, suddenly I'm just going to say to you, Mike, it's now dear Toronto Nation, and I'm only cheering for the Toronto football team now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. Like it's and so we all have and you know where they learned that? You know where they learned the hard way? The So I don't know if you remember, there was a Buffalo series here. They had 8 games.
Yes.
The Buffalo Bills played 8 home games here in Canada. And they thought, because we're so close to Buffalo, we were going to fill out the stadium with, well, Buffalo is like the 10th most popular team here. And then they brought teams like the Jets to play. You know, like if they would have brought the Steelers, the Patriots, the Dolphins, the Giants, because like I'm going through the teams that everybody loves here. Indy, because there's a lot of people who became Peyton Manning fans as kids. Yeah. Don't forget, right? As a teenager here, you were a Brady fan or you were a Manning fan.
That's true.
And you got to remember, for people who are 40 years old now, for a 40-year-old guy like me, the way we consumed football was different than how you guys consumed football. Right? Like there were regional games. We didn't have a team.
Yeah.
So we got to watch what was ever on television that day. I became a New England Patriots fan because Patriots games were regularly played on Global TV here in Toronto. Global Toronto covered Patriots games regularly, so I became a Patriots fan. Other guys, then it was national games. Well, there was a lot of Dallas Cowboys on national football. There was a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers on national football games. So my friends became Steelers fans, became Cowboys fans, right? Like it's so we all have, a lot of us have been a football fan for 10 years or for 30, 35 years for one team. So to bring a team to Toronto, you're not going to, I might go to the game when the Patriots are here, and I'm going to go there to cheer for the Patriots, but it's going to take a long time to build a strong Toronto fan base.
I was going to say that team would basically need to be in existence for probably 10 to 15 years, because you would essentially need to displace a whole generation into hoping that they become Toronto fans, right? Toronto football fans, because to your point, right, and this happens even in the United States, you might root for your local college team but feel no allegiance to an NFL team. So to your point, I'm a Patrick Mahomes fan, I was a Peyton Manning fan, so you just get stuck to Indy or Kansas City, or back in the day with how good the 49ers or the Steelers were, or again the Cowboys. So and that's essentially what's happened in Canada permanently. You see that in pockets in the United States, but it's whatever you loved as a kid or was on in your market the most, or who you gravitated towards, whether it be Brett Favre or Tom Brady, or pick the name.
The other big difference that the NFL would struggle here in Toronto, I'm going to read to you now the list of the most watched sports by viewership in Canada. You guys might be shocked by this, but hockey in the NHL is number 1.
Shocking.
Number 2 is soccer, which is, again, world's most popular sport.
Yep.
Number 3 is basketball. We're a big basketball country. Like, we love basketball here.
Yeah.
Number 4 is baseball.
Yeah.
Like Major League Baseball. Number 5 is NFL. So it's the 5th most watched sport that plays in the middle of hockey season, basketball season, soccer season, and then the first 2 months is playoffs and World Series for baseball. So it would take a while. I'm telling you, it would take a long while. And I mainly figure these numbers are because we have no fan association here.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're in Toronto, you're watching the Toronto Maple Leafs, you're watching the Toronto Blue Jays, you're watching the Raptors, and you're watching the thing. And we're very allegiance here. Hockey's different, but every other sport, like, you gotta remember, the Toronto Blue Jays is Canada's only baseball team. So like the entire country primarily cheers for the Blue Jays. The Raptors are the only basketball team. So the entire country primarily cheers for the Raptors. So it's ingrained in us, and it's kind of a culture here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas it would take a while for football to catch on at a level.
That's what the ultimate hope would be, right? Though, can like we unify Canada, and it's never going to be 100%, but can we unify 80% of Canada under a fan base?
We wouldn't, though. You know what the problem is? Because the East Coast are all Patriots fans.
Yeah.
Like New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, because they've all watched the Patriots. The West Coast, Vancouver and British Columbia, they're all Seahawks fans, right? A lot of people in Ontario are Bills fans or Detroit fans. There's a lot of Tigers fans or Lions fans when you get into the Windsor area, because they all just travel over. Actually, in the Windsor area, they're not even Blue Jay fans; they're Tigers fans. Like, they're all Detroit everything and Red Wing fans, right? And then Manitoba, or they're a skip away from Minnesota, so they're all Vikings fans. It's like it's a very pocketed thing. And then you got the diehard CFL fans that hate the NFL. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And in Toronto, that means nothing because there's like 12 people at a CFL game. But you get into like Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba, they're packing out 40,000, 50,000 person stadiums.
Yeah, and I get that, right? Because that's where the national identity would come from. Is like, this is our version of football.
Yeah,
that I understand.
It actually surprised me. CFL was number 6 on the list. I didn't, but again, the West Coast, right? The West Coast watches it so much. So, yeah. Anyways, this all comes back to, don't put out an inferior product. Put out a good product. Don't oversaturate the market. But you're right. It all comes down to money. It's all money. Anyways, I got to go. I got a Dodgers Blue Jays game I got to watch. Follow my new channel at Jays Nation, or Dear Jays Nation. And check us out on X at Dear Pats Nation. Go check out our new logo. I like it. Yeah. I think it's sick. And we incorporated both our flags. We really represented well who Mike and I are. Yeah. All right, Mike. Until next time, tell me about those Patriots.
They're going to be legit, kid.